I was making Trevor's lunch when the email notification popped up on my phone. The sender's name made my blood freeze. FBI_CYBE or CRMES underscore DIVY at ICFBIGOV. My hands shook as I opened it. Mrs. Martinez. This is Special Agent Diana Chen with the FBI's Cybercrimes Division. We need to speak with you urgently regarding your son, Trevor's educational records and his teacher, Ms. Brittany Caldwell. Please call me immediately at the number below. This is regarding an active federal investigation. I abandoned the half-made sandwich and called with trembling fingers. Trevor, my beautiful 11-year-old son with dyslexia and ADHD, was upstairs getting ready for school, humming off-key to his favorite song. How was I about to tell him his world was about to shatter? Mrs. Martinez? Agent Chen's voice was professional but kind. Thank you for calling. I need to inform you that your son's individual education plan, along with other confidential documents, was sold online by Ms. Caldwell. We purchased these documents as part of an undercover operation. The room tilted. She sold his IEP. To who? To what she believed was a forum for parents looking to fake learning disabilities for their children. The forum was actually an FBI honeypot operation. Miss Caldwell didn't just sell the documents, she included commentary mocking Trevor and your family. I sank into a kitchen chair. What kind of commentary? I'll forward you the screenshots, but I want to warn you, they are disturbing. She called Trevor the poster child for lazy parenting and suggested his disabilities were fake, created by parents who can't accept their kid is just dumb. The sandwich ingredients blurred through my tears. Not from hurt, from pure, crystalline rage. Brittany Caldwell had been Trevor's special education teacher for 2 years. I'd sat across from her at dozens of meetings, trusted her with my son's struggles, believed her when she smiled and said she understood. Meanwhile, she was selling his private medical information to strangers and calling him stupid. Let me tell you about my son. Trevor is brilliant. He can build complex Lego structures from memory, solve math problems in his head, and has an encyclopedic knowledge of marine biology. But his brain processes written language differently. Letters flip and dance on the page. Words fracture mid-sentence. What takes other kids 10 minutes to read takes him an hour. His IEP, Individual Education Plan, is a legally binding document that details his learning disabilities, required accommodations, testing modifications, and therapeutic interventions. It contains psychological evaluations, medical diagnoses, and deeply personal information about his struggles and triggers. It's protected under FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, with violations carrying federal criminal penalties. Miss Caldwell knew this. She'd signed confidentiality agreements. She'd sat in training sessions about FERPA. She'd nodded solemnly when administrators explained that violating student privacy was a federal crime. And then she'd gone home, logged onto the dark web, and put a price tag on my son's struggles. Agent Chen continued, "We've been monitoring a forum called ParentFacts for Education for 6 months. It marketed itself as a place where parents could buy real IEPs and medical documents to fake disabilities for extra time on tests, college admissions advantages, and to excuse poor performance. That's sick. It gets worse. Teachers were selling documents for anywhere from $100 to $500, depending on detail level. Ms. Caldwell was one of the most active sellers. She sold at least 15 students' records that we know of. 15 kids? My voice cracked. From your school alone. We're still investigating other schools. But here's the thing, Trevor's documents were special to our investigation because of what she wrote about them. Agent Chen sent the screenshots while we talked. I opened them with shaking hands. The last thing, Ultimate Lazy Parent Starter Pack, $200. Seller, Teacher Brit _91. Got a goldmine here, parents, real IED for an 11-year-old dyslexic. Although sure he is. Kid can't read because parents coddle him instead of making him practice. Mom's a helicopter who probably did his homework until teachers noticed he couldn't spell his own name right. Includes full psych evaluation, kid scored normal IQ but parents shopped doctors until they found one who diagnosed dyslexia. Speech therapy notes, spoiler, he's just lazy. 504 plan with every accommodation possible. 3 years of progress reports showing minimal improvement because you can't cure lazy. Bonus. Mom's emails demanding more services. Great templates for carrying your way to accommodations. This kid gets unlimited time on tests, typed assignments instead of handwritten, and a quiet room for testing. They'll probably get into college with these accommodations while your normal kid gets rejected. Use this as your template. Remember, the key is to cry in meetings and threaten to sue. Works every time. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. That lazy child she mocked had spent last night crying because he couldn't read the book his friends were enjoying. That coddled boy practiced reading every single night until his eyes burned, sounding out words letter by painful letter. That normal IQ kid was brilliant but trapped by a brain that processed text differently. And his teacher, the one person outside family who should have understood, had reduced his struggle to a punchline worth $200. Mrs. Martinez, Agent Chen's voice pulled me back. I know this is devastating, but I need you to know we take this extremely seriously. FERPA violations, wire fraud, identity theft of a minor. Miss Caldwell is facing significant federal charges. What happens now? We arrested Ms. Caldwell this morning. We're coordinating with your school district and the Department of Education. Every parent whose child's records were sold will be notified today. We'll need you to come in for a formal statement, and Trevor may need to be interviewed by our child specialists. Oh God, Trevor. How do I tell him his teacher did this? We have counselors who can help. But first, don't send him to school today. The arrest happened on campus, and it's chaos there. I hung up and climbed the stairs to Trevor's room. He was at his desk, laboriously copying spelling words, each letter carefully formed despite his dysgraphia making his hand cramp. Hey buddy, I said, voice artificially bright. Snow day. But it's not snowing. He looked confused. Mental health snow day. Just you and me. How about pancakes and a documentary about sharks? His face lit up. The one about megalodons. Whatever you want. I kept him busy while my phone exploded. Other parents from school, the principal, the district superintendent, reporters who'd somehow already gotten word. I turned off my phone and focused on Trevor, memorizing his happy face before he learned how betrayed he'd been. The full scope emerged over the following days. Agent Chen walked me through the investigation at the FBI field office while Trevor waited with a child specialist. Parent Tax for Education had operated for 2 years. Teachers, aides, even school counselors across 12 states had sold confidential student records. The buyers weren't just parents, they included identity thieves targeting children, predators looking for vulnerable kids with documented issues, and criminals building databases of children's personal information. But the site's main purpose was exactly what it advertised: helping wealthy parents fake disabilities for their non-disabled children to gain academic advantages. The forum had detailed guides, Agent Chen explained. How to coach your child to fail specific tests, which doctors were known for easy diagnosis, how to cry convincingly in IEP meetings. They treated real disabilities like a hack for beating the system. Miss Caldwell wasn't just a seller. She was a moderator, vetting other teachers and writing guides. Her post history was a masterclass in cruelty. The Autism Goldmine: how to spot parents who'll pay for any diagnosis. Dyslexia or dumb: a teacher's guide to telling the difference. ADHD: the made-up disorder that gets kids legal cocaine. Each post dripped with contempt for the children she was paid to help. How did you catch her? I asked. A real parent stumbled onto the site and reported it. We set up the honeypot, posed as buyers. Miss Caldwell was eager to sell. She actually offered us a bulk discount for multiple IEPs. The criminal charges were staggering. 15 counts of FERPA violations, 1 per student. Wire fraud. Identity theft of minors. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Trafficking in confidential information. Each FERPA violation alone carried up to 5 years in federal prison. The school district meeting was a nightmare. The superintendent, principal, and school board faced a room of furious parents. 15 families whose children's most private struggles had been packaged and sold. How did no one notice? Demanded Marcus Chen, whose daughter's autism diagnosis had been sold as a template for faking social disabilities. Why wasn't she supervised? shouted Karen Williams, whose son's severe ADHD documentation went for $300. The superintendent looked broken. We trusted our teachers. Background checks were clean. Miss Caldwell had excellent references, good reviews. We had no indication. She called my son retarded, interrupted James Foster, in writing, on a forum, while smiling to my face at parent conferences. The room erupted. Parents crying, shouting, demanding answers that wouldn't come. How do you explain that sometimes evil hides behind elementary school teacher smiles and inspirational posters? I stood up. My son thinks he's broken. He thinks his brain is wrong. The one person outside family who was supposed to help him learn to read sold his struggles as a lazy parent starter pack. She didn't just violate FERPA. She violated trust. She violated children. The district promised reforms, better oversight, regular audits, new training. Empty words that wouldn't undo the damage. Telling Trevor was the hardest thing I've ever done. His therapist helped using simple terms an 11-year-old could grasp. Your teacher made a very bad choice, Dr. Kumar explained. She took your private school information and gave it to people who shouldn't have it. Like my IEP, Trevor asked. The paper that says how my brain works different. Yes, and that was wrong. Your IEP is private just for people who help you learn. Trevor was quiet. Then, did she think I was stupid? My heart shattered. No, baby, your brain isn't stupid. It's different, and different isn't bad. Miss Caldwell was the one who did something stupid. But I couldn't lie to him completely. When the news broke, his classmates would talk. He needed to be prepared. She said some mean things about you and other kids. Wrong things. And now she's in big trouble for it. Trevor processed this slowly, the way he processed everything, carefully, thoroughly. Is that why she sometimes rolled her eyes when I couldn't read fast? Oh God, he'd noticed. Of course he'd noticed. The trial was a media circus. Teachers sold special ed kids records on dark web, made national headlines. Miss Caldwell, the pretty blonde teacher who decorated her classroom with rainbow posters about kindness, became the face of educational betrayal. She cried at her arraignment, claiming stress and underpayment drove her to it. Teachers are undervalued, her lawyer argued. Miss Caldwell made a desperate choice trying to supplement her income. But the prosecution had her posts, her mockery, her detailed instructions on exploiting disabled children. This wasn't desperation, it was cruelty monetized. Other teachers from the forum flipped, testifying against her in exchange for lesser sentences. They painted a picture of a woman who actively recruited educators to sell records, who laughed about stupid kids and stupider parents, who saw vulnerable children as walking dollar signs. The parent testimony was devastating. One by one, we took the stand and explained what those sold documents meant. Private psychological evaluations, medical histories, detailed descriptions of our children's triggers and breakdowns, all packaged and sold to strangers. I testified on a Tuesday. Trevor practices reading every night until he cries from frustration. He's not lazy, he's the hardest working kid I know. But Miss Caldwell reduced him to a commodity. She sold his pain for less than the cost of her designer handbag. The jury deliberated for 2 hours, guilty on all counts. At sentencing, Miss Caldwell addressed the court. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. Teaching is stressful, and I made terrible choices. I hope families can forgive me. Judge Harrison wasn't moved. Miss Caldwell, you held a position of unique trust. Parents entrusted you with their children's vulnerabilities, and you sold them. You mocked children's disabilities while pretending to help them. You corrupted the sacred relationship between teacher and student for profit. She sentenced Caldwell to 5 years in federal prison, lifetime ban from teaching, and $100,000 in restitution to be split among victims. Caldwell sobbed as they led her away in handcuffs. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no closure. Just empty. The aftermath rippled through our lives. Trevor struggled with trust. If his teacher could betray him, who else might? He asked to be homeschooled, terrified of new teachers. We compromised with a hybrid program, slowly rebuilding his confidence. Other kids weren't as lucky. Marcus Chen's daughter regressed, her autism symptoms worsening under the stress. James Foster's son attempted suicide after classmates found the forum posts calling him retarded. 2 families moved away entirely, unable to face the school where their children's privacy had been violated. The school implemented sweeping changes. Background checks now included social media deep dives. Teachers underwent mandatory FERPA training quarterly instead of yearly. A new oversight system flagged any unusual access to student records. But systems don't fix broken trust. A year later, Trevor has a new teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, who cried when she read his IEP and promised to help him soar. He's making progress, slowly learning to trust again. He still asks sometimes why Miss Caldwell was mean about his brain. Some people are broken in ways that don't show, I tell him. Miss Caldwell's heart was broken, and she tried to break other people too. But you're not broken, baby. You're perfect. The FBI investigation expanded nationwide. Parent Tax for Education led to 47 arrests across 12 states. Teachers, counselors, even principals who'd sold children's souls for profit. Each arrest brought fresh horror: suicide attempt records sold, abuse documentation marketed, therapy notes turned into commodities. Agent Chen keeps me updated. They've shut down 3 similar sites, but others pop up. It's an ongoing battle, she admits. People see vulnerability as profit opportunity. Miss Caldwell serves her time in federal prison. I heard she teaches literacy to other inmates, ironic, considering she mocked children struggling to read. Maybe she's genuinely reformed. Maybe prison taught her empathy that teaching school couldn't. I don't care. She stole more than documents. She stole innocence, trust, and security. She made vulnerable children question their worth and parents question their judgment. But here's what Ms. Caldwell didn't count on: the strength of the families she betrayed. We rallied around our kids, reinforced their worth, rebuilt their confidence. We turned violation into vigilance, ensuring no teacher would ever again see our children as commodities. Trevor reads better now. Still slowly, still with difficulty, but with determination Ms. Caldwell never recognized. Last week, he finished his first chapter book independently. He cried with joy, and so did I. "Mom," he said, "I think my different brain might be my superpower. I have to work harder so I get stronger." That's worth more than any IEP, any accommodation, any document. That's a child recognizing his own worth despite an adult who tried to diminish it. Miss Caldwell sold Trevor's IEP for $200. But she couldn't sell his spirit, his determination, or his brilliant, beautifully different brain. And that's priceless.